Jack was alone in the outpost. It was a small station on the edge of human space. Dust covered everything and the winds outside never stopped howling. He had been working there for 2 years, fixing machines, checking signals, and living a quiet life. Not many visitors came this far. He liked it that way, but that day was different. He was drinking his coffee when the alarm light blinked. A ship was approaching. Jack frowned. No transport was scheduled. He stood up and checked the screen. It was a small alien ship, strange design, silver with dark red markings. It was not one he recognized. The ship landed slowly, its engines hissing. Jack stepped outside, keeping his hand close to his old sidearm. The ship door opened with a soft sound. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped out. It was a woman. She had smooth pale blue-purple skin, dark silver hair tied back, and small pointed ears. Her eyes were sharp and deep violet. She wore strong armor with golden symbols. She walked with grace, but there was something dangerous about her. Jack stayed calm. "Welcome to Outpost 7, I'm Jack. You need repairs?" The alien woman looked at him for a long time before answering. "Yes, my ship is damaged. I need assistance." Her voice was clear but firm. Jack noticed she spoke his language perfectly. He nodded. "I'll take a look." They walked to her ship together. She didn't say much. Jack tried to be polite, but her silence made it hard. She watched him closely as he opened the side panel of her ship. He felt her eyes on him, not just watching, but studying. "You've come far," Jack said while checking the damage. "Yes," she replied. "Very far." There was something in her voice. Jack couldn't place it. Not anger, not fear, but something deep, maybe a purpose. The damage wasn't serious. He told her it would take a few hours. She agreed and followed him back to the station. Inside, Jack offered her water, which she accepted. She sat down, eyes still on him. Jack tried to break the silence. "So, what brings you here? Got lost?" She shook her head slowly. "I came here on purpose." That made Jack pause. "You knew this place?" "No," she said. "I knew you." He stared at her, confused. "Me?" She nodded. "I have searched many worlds. I came to find you." Jack felt a chill. He tried to keep his face calm. "You must be mistaken. I'm just a repair tech." The woman's expression didn't change. "You were once more than that, a soldier, a scout. You were part of Operation Duskfall." Jack froze. That name. He hadn't heard it in years. That mission had been wiped from the records. Only a few people knew. And none of them were alien. "How do you know that?" he asked, his voice quiet. "I was there," she said. "You destroyed our flagship. You survived when no one else did." Jack stood still, memories hitting him. The burning skies, the panic, the last jump through hyperspace. He had been the only one to escape. "That was a long time ago," Jack said. "I didn't even know who we were fighting." She stood up slowly. "You killed my brother that day. He was our commander. I have trained to find you ever since." Jack backed away, his hand near his sidearm. "If you came for revenge," she raised her hand. "No, my people follow the old laws. Revenge is not allowed. But judgment is. I am here to decide your fate." Jack didn't know what to say. He felt like the air had turned heavy. He had thought his past was behind him, but it had followed him all the way to this quiet place. "I didn't even know who I was shooting at," Jack said. "It was war." "I believe you," she replied, "but belief is not enough. You must face the trial." Jack shook his head. "I don't fight anymore. I just fix things." The woman stepped closer. "You will not fight if you choose not. There are other ways, but you must answer for what happened." Jack looked at her eyes. They were not full of hate. They were full of duty. She was not here to kill. She was here to test him, to see if he was the man they remembered or Someone different, what happens if I pass? He asked. She paused. Then I return home, and your name is cleared. And if I fail? Then I take you with me. Jack sighed. He looked at his hands, covered in grease and dust. He had tried so hard to stay hidden, to forget what he had done, but it had all returned, on two legs with armor and ancient rules. He looked back at her. All right, I'll face your trial. The woman nodded once. We begin at sunrise. Jack couldn't sleep that night. He lay on his small bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of machines. His mind was full of old memories, memories he had buried deep, but now they were alive again, walking through the dusty outpost in the form of a warrior woman with calm eyes and sharp armor. Outside his room, the alien woman sat silently in the corner of the main hall. She hadn't asked for food or rest. She just waited, like a statue, her eyes half closed but alert. Jack had offered her a room, but she refused. She said she would not rest under his roof. She would wait for the trial to begin. Jack sighed and sat up. He walked to the sink and splashed cold water on his face. His reflection looked tired. The man in the mirror was not a soldier anymore. He had become something else. Quiet, distant, small. But the past had not forgotten him. When the first light of dawn touched the station's window, Jack stepped out into the open yard. The wind was cold and dust danced across the ground. The alien woman was already there, standing tall and still. Her armor shone faintly in the morning light. She looked at him. You are ready? Jack nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. She motioned for him to follow. They walked past the outpost, across the rocky field behind it, until they reached a circle of stones. Jack had never noticed it before. It looked ancient, like it had been there long before humans arrived on this planet. This is where the trial begins, she said. Jack looked around. What kind of trial is this? The first is a trial of memory, she replied. You must face what you have hidden. Suddenly, a small device in her hand lit up. A bright pulse spread from it, and Jack felt a strange wave pass through him. The world around him changed. He was no longer standing in the desert. He was back in space. The stars surrounded him, and the floor beneath his feet became the deck of a ship. Lights blinked, alarms rang, and voices shouted. It was the mission, the one he thought he had forgotten. He was back in the cockpit of his old scout ship, flying through enemy fire. He looked to his side. The pilot next to him, Rico, was shouting. Something. Rico had died during that mission. Jack tried to move, but he couldn't change anything. The scene played like a memory. His memory. He watched as their ship was hit, the hull tore open, and they crashed into the enemy cruiser. He saw himself climbing out, injured, lost, crawling through burning corridors. Then he saw her brother. The Virulon warrior was tall, powerful, with sharp eyes like hers. Jack remembered the fight. He didn't want it, but it happened. A blaster. A struggle, a single shot, and then silence. The memory faded and Jack fell to his knees. The wind returned. The stars were gone. He was back in the circle of stones. The alien woman stood over him. You remember now. Jack looked up at her, his face pale. I didn't want to kill him. I was scared. I thought I was going to die. No, she said quietly. But you did kill him. Jack stood up slowly. So what now? That was the first trial? She nodded. You faced your past. You did not run. That matters. Jack wiped the dust from his hands. It still hurts. Good, she said. That means your heart is not lost. They walked back to the station in silence. Jack felt like something inside him had opened, something heavy and cold. The past was not gone, but now at least it was no longer hiding. Back inside, Jack sat down and drank water. His hands were shaking a little. Why are you doing this? He asked her. You said this is about judgment. But you're not here to punish me, are you? She sat across from him. My people believe in truth, the truth of the heart. We don't decide a person's fate just by their actions, but by their reason and their soul. Jack looked at her. You think I have a good soul? I don't know yet, she said. That's why we test. Jack let out a breath. So there's more? Yes. 2 more trials. Jack leaned back in his chair. Great. The woman stood. You are strong, not because you fight, but because you carry your pain. I have seen many warriors. Some break, some forget, but you remember. That is the beginning. Jack didn't know what to say. No one had spoken to him like that in a long time. That evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Jack sat outside. He looked at the stars above, wondering how far she had traveled to find him. He didn't know what the next trials would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't hide anymore. The alien woman stood not far from him, arms crossed, watching the sky as well. Neither of them spoke, but in that silence, something strange had started to form between them. Not anger, not fear, but something close to understanding. The next morning, the sky was clear and the wind was calm. Jack stood near the storage shed, trying to fix a broken tool, but his mind was not on the work. He kept thinking about the alien woman and the trial he had passed. It still felt like a dream, like something far from reality. She entered the room without a sound, moving quietly like a shadow. Jack looked up. Her armor still shone in the sunlight, but this time she was not wearing her helmet. Her silver hair moved slightly in the breeze. It is time, she said. Jack placed the tool down. What's the next trial? She looked at him. It is the trial of choice. Jack raised an eyebrow. Choice? She nodded. Many warriors are strong in body. Few are strong in mind. You will face a situation today that will test your decision. You must choose, not with weapons, but with wisdom. Jack followed her outside. They walked together, crossing a narrow path between the hills near the outpost. The area was rocky but not dangerous. Still, Jack felt something strange in the air, like something was waiting. After walking for some time, they stopped near a wide flat space between 2 large cliffs. In the center of the space was a strange device. It looked like a small cube, glowing with faint blue light. Wires ran out of it and connected to 2 tall metal pillars standing nearby. What is that? Jack asked. A test chamber, she said. You will enter alone. Inside you will face a problem. You will not be told what is right or wrong. Only your heart will guide you. Jack looked at the cube. And if I fail? You will not be harmed, she said. But I will know your choice, and so will you. Jack nodded slowly. He took a deep breath and stepped into the chamber. As he crossed the threshold, everything changed. The light around him shifted. The cliffs disappeared. The air turned cool. He was inside a large room, empty and quiet. In the center of the room were 2 doors. A voice spoke, not hers, but a calm, deep voice. You must choose. Behind one door is a person who will live if you open it. Behind the other is a group of people who will die if you ignore it. But if you choose the group, the one person will die. You have 1 minute. Jack stood still, shocked. He looked at both doors. There were no names, no signs, no hints, just choices. 1 life or many lives. He thought fast. He wanted to help everyone, but he couldn't. That was the point of the trial. Then he remembered something Rico once said, during their military days. Sometimes there is no right answer. Only the answer you can live with. Jack stepped toward the second door, the one that would save many. His hand shook, but he pressed the button. The door opened, and the room faded away. Suddenly he was standing outside again. The sun was bright and the wind had returned. The alien woman stood before him, her expression unreadable. You chose the group, she said. Jack nodded. It felt wrong, but also right. She looked at him for a long time, then she spoke. The trial was not about numbers. It was about your heart. You chose to save more lives even though it caused pain. You accepted the cost. Jack sighed. I didn't like it. No wise choice is easy, she said. But you made it. You passed. Jack sat on a nearby rock, his legs tired. What do your people believe about choices? She sat across from him. We believe choices shape our future. A warrior who chooses only for himself brings danger. A warrior who chooses for others brings peace. Jack nodded. Your brother, was he like that? She looked up at the sky. He was proud, strong, brave, but he followed orders without question, even when it led to his end. Jack lowered his eyes. I didn't want to be his end. She said nothing for a while, then quietly, I know. The silence between them grew calm, not cold, not angry, just quiet understanding. Later they returned to the outpost. Jack made tea and offered her some. This time she accepted. They sat across from each other at the table, sipping slowly. Jack asked her name again. Sci-Fi, she said. He repeated it carefully. Sci-Fi, it's a strong name, she nodded. It means honor of the blade in my language. Jack smiled a little. Fitting, she looked at him. Your name, Jack, what does it mean? He shrugged. It just means Jack, not much behind it. She tilted her head. Sometimes names grow with the person. Jack leaned back in his chair. Do you really think I'm still the man who destroyed your brother's ship? Sci-Fi stared at him. No. I think you are the man who carries that memory and tries to live with it. Jack was quiet for a while. What's the final trial? She stood. It will come soon. It is the trial of unity. We must face it together. Jack looked surprised. Together? She nodded. Some paths must be walked side by side. Jack stood slowly. He felt tired, but also lighter. Like a small piece of the past had started to fall away. As Sci-Fi looked out the window, her eyes caught the setting sun. Jack stood beside her. They didn't speak again that night, but something had changed. The next morning, the outpost was silent again. Jack stood outside, watching the sky turn orange as the sun rose. He had faced 2 trials already, memory and choice. Both had shaken him, but now the third and final trial waited. Sci-Fi stood near her ship, checking something on her wrist device. Her face was calm, but her body was ready, like a soldier waiting for battle. Jack walked up to her. I'm ready, he said. She looked at him. This trial is different. We will face it together. You must trust me, and I must trust you. Jack nodded. What do we have to do? There is a signal near this planet, she said. It was silent for years, but now something has awakened. My ship detected it yesterday. We must go there. Jack frowned. You think it's dangerous? Don't know, she replied, but the trial is called Unity. We face it as one. Jack didn't ask more questions. He grabbed his pack, locked the outpost, and followed her to the ship. The inside of her ship was quiet and clean. It was designed for one person, fast, efficient, and strong. Sci-Fi sat at the front controls. Jack took the seat beside her. She pressed a few buttons, and the ship lifted off smoothly. The desert below grew smaller as they rose into the sky. Jack looked out the window. He had not left the surface in 2 years. It felt strange. As the ship flew across the planet, Sci-Fi showed him the signal. A blinking dot on the screen, near the edge of a deep canyon. That's where we're going, she said. The flight took only 20 minutes. When they landed, the place felt different. The air was cooler. The wind was quiet. It was as if the canyon itself was waiting. They stepped out together. The path was rocky but not hard. They moved carefully side by side. Jack kept glancing at Sci-Fi. Even in silence, she was focused, aware of everything around her. At the bottom of the canyon, they found the source of the signal. It was an old machine, buried halfway in the ground, covered in dust and metal vines. It was large, round, and glowing faintly. Symbols were written across its surface in a language Jack had never seen. What is it? He asked. A relic, Sarakai said. From the time before war. Jack stepped closer. The machine came. To life, lights blinking slowly. A low hum filled the air. Suddenly a deep voice echoed around them. Two stand before the relic, one of war, one of loss. Will you face unity? Sarakai looked at Jack. He nodded. We're ready. The ground shook slightly, and a beam of light rose from the relic. It covered both of them. Jack felt a strange feeling, like his mind was being touched. He looked at Sarakai and saw her eyes widen too. Then the vision began. Jack saw memories, Sarakai's memories. He saw her home planet, green and bright. He saw her as a young girl, training with a wooden blade. He saw her brother, strong, kind, laughing as he taught her to fight. He saw the war begin, ships burning, soldiers falling. And then, the moment her brother's ship was destroyed, she had screamed. Her world changed. Then, the vision shifted. Now Sarakai saw Jack's memories, his first day as a young scout, his love for machines, his fear during battle, the moment he lost Rico, the moment he fired his weapon inside the enemy cruiser, his escape, his guilt. The light faded. The relic was silent again. Jack and Sarakai stood there breathing hard. Their hands were shaking. I saw everything, Jack whispered. Sarakai nodded. And I saw your pain. Jack looked at her. Your brother was brave. He didn't deserve to die. He chose war, she said softly. But he also protected our people. He was not a monster. Jack stepped forward. And I'm not either. She looked at him. No, you're not. The relic's voice returned. Two minds, two hearts, one truth, unity has been shown. Then the relic powered down completely. The hum stopped. The canyon was silent again. Jack sat down on a flat rock. He felt tired, but not in a bad way. More like a weight had been lifted. Sarakai sat beside him. For a long time, they said nothing. The wind moved gently through the canyon, brushing dust over the stone floor. Jack finally spoke. Was that the last trial? Yes, she said. The final trial is not about victory. It is about understanding. Jack looked at her. What happens now? She turned to face him. I return to my people. I tell them your truth. That you are not an enemy. That you are not what they feared. Jack blinked. Will they believe you? They will, she said, because I carry the truth within me. Jack stood up. I thought you came here to judge me, but maybe we judged each other. She smiled, a small, quiet smile. Maybe that was the real trial. They walked back to the ship slowly. The canyon behind them stood quiet, its ancient machine now resting once more. As they flew back to the outpost, the silence between them was peaceful. When they landed, Jack stepped out and looked around. The place felt different now, not because it had changed, but because he had. Sarakai stood at the door of her ship. I will leave at sunrise, she said. Jack nodded. Then we still have time. She looked at him. For what? For tea, he said, smiling. She tilted her head, then followed him inside. The sun was setting again, turning the sky soft orange. Jack poured hot tea into 2 metal cups. The small table between him and Sarakai was quiet, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. She took the cup from his hand and looked at the steam rising. It's strange, she said softly. What is? Jack asked. How something as simple as tea can bring peace after all we've seen. Jack smiled. Sometimes small things mean more than big ones. They sat quietly for a few minutes, sipping slowly. The events of the last few days had changed, both of them. Sarakai had come to test him, even punish him. But now, it didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like a connection. A bridge between two enemies who no longer were enemies. After some time, Jack asked, "Do you still hate me?" Sarakai looked up. Her silver eyes held no anger now. "No," she said calmly. "I did when I came. But not anymore." "You did. Not take my brother out of cruelty. You acted in war. Just like he did." Jack nodded slowly. "Still, I wish it had been different." Sarakai stood and walked to the window. Wishing doesn't change the past, but it can shape the future. Jack joined her at the window. The desert looked calm, like a sleeping world. The stars were just beginning to show above the horizon. "I'll leave at sunrise," she said again. "My people are waiting for my report." "And what will you tell them?" Jack asked. "I'll tell them that the human they feared is not a killer without reason," she answered. "I'll tell them the war is over, at least in this place." Jack leaned on the wall beside her. "You think they'll care?" She nodded. "Yes, because I carry honor. They will listen." A soft silence followed. Jack looked at her again. "Do you ever get tired of fighting?" She gave a faint smile. "Every warrior does, but we keep fighting until we find something else worth living for." Jack stepped closer. "And have you found that?" Sarakai didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned back to the table and placed her empty cup down. "I don't know," she said. "But this peace is the closest I've felt in years." Jack understood her words. He had lived in silence, running from the past. She had lived with rage, chasing justice. But now they both stood on the same side, just two people trying to understand each other. Later that night, Jack couldn't sleep. He walked outside and looked up at the stars. He remembered how he used to dream of being among them, exploring, helping, building. Sarakai joined him silently, standing a few steps away. They both stared at the sky. "I used to fly across 12 systems in a week," she said. "Now, standing still feels strange," Jack chuckled. "I used to fix machines, but I ended up breaking things I never wanted to." She looked at him. "You can build again." Jack looked surprised. "You think so?" "Yes," she said. "Even broken people can build something good." For a moment, they stood without speaking. Then Sarakai turned to him. "There is something I must ask you." Jack faced her. "What is it?" "My ship has a second seat," she said. "If you want, you can come with me." Jack blinked. "Come with you? Where?" "To my people," she said. "To speak, to show them the truth, not just from me but from both of us." Jack looked at the sand under his feet. He hadn't left the outpost in 2 years. Could he leave now? Was he ready? "Why me?" he asked. "Because you lived the war," she said. "Because you carry the past but want a better future. And because they need to hear your voice." Jack stayed quiet. The idea scared him. But deep inside, something stirred. A feeling he had buried for a long time. Hope. "I don't know," he said honestly. "It's a big step." Sarakai nodded. "Think about it. I leave in the morning." She turned and walked back to the building, her footsteps light on the sand. Jack sat on a nearby rock watching the stars. He remembered his friend Rico's laugh. He remembered the battle, the ship, the silence after the explosion. But now he remembered something new. Sarakai's voice, her eyes, her words. She didn't hate him anymore. That meant something. The time he went back inside, the sky was full of stars. He lay in bed, eyes open, heart full of questions, and somewhere in that silence, he made a decision. The first light of dawn touched the desert. A soft breeze moved across the sand, and the sky slowly turned from dark blue to pale orange. Inside the outpost, Jack stood by the window, watching the morning arrive. His bag was packed. His heart was steady. Sarakai stood near her ship, ready for departure. Her armor was clean. Her blade was on her back. She looked calm, but her eyes kept moving, searching, thinking, waiting. Jack walked out slowly, carrying only a small bag. She turned as he approached. "You decided?" She said Jack nodded. I'll go with you. She looked at him for a long second. You're sure? No, he admitted. But I know I can't stay here forever. If there's even a small chance that going with you helps stop more pain, I have to take it. Sarakai gave a slight nod, her face showing respect. Then we go together. They stepped into the ship. Jack placed his bag under the co-pilot's seat and sat down beside her. The engines hummed quietly. The ship rose gently into the sky. As the outpost shrank below them, Jack looked down one last time. That lonely place had been his shelter, his prison, and now, his past. Goodbye, he whispered. The ship broke through the clouds and entered the black space above. Stars surrounded them. Sarakai set the course and activated the hyperdrive. A flash of light swallowed them. After a few hours, the ship slowed down near a large space station that floated near a blue gas planet. It was shaped like a ring, covered in lights and docking ports. Small ships flew in and out. That's the listening post, Sarakai said. My people are there. Elders, warriors, and the voice of our command. Jack leaned forward, eyes wide. It's beautiful, she looked at him. Stay close, they won't expect you. As they landed inside the docking bay, 2 alien guards in silver armor waited. Their faces were stern, eyes sharp. They raised their weapons slightly when they saw Jack. Sarakai stepped forward and lifted her hand. He is with me. He comes. In peace, I speak for him. The guards looked at each other. One of them touched a small device on his chest, then stepped aside. They're calling the council, Sarakai said. We must go now. Jack followed her through the station. The walls were metallic but clean. Symbols marked the doors. Other warriors stared as they passed. Some looked confused, some looked angry, but none stopped them. Finally, they reached a tall door with glowing patterns. It opened slowly. Inside was a round room. 5 alien elders sat in tall seats, each wearing robes of deep blue and silver. The one in the middle stood. Sarakai, you return, he said. I return with truth, she replied. The elder's eyes shifted to Jack. And who stands beside you? Jack stepped forward slowly. My name is Jack. I was a soldier. I fought in the war. But I come now not as a fighter. I come to speak. The room grew quiet. Another elder asked, You are the one who destroyed the Night Fang cruiser? Jack nodded. Yes, I did. A few murmurs spread through the room. Sarakai raised her voice. He acted in battle. He lost his friend. He believed he was saving others. He didn't act from hate. The central elder spoke again. And, how do we know this is true? Sarakai walked forward. Because I took him through the trials, I saw his memories, he saw mine. The relic confirmed it. He carries guilt, not pride. He seeks peace, not more blood. The elder looked at Jack. You came here knowing we might kill you. Why? Jack took a deep breath. Because hiding doesn't fix the past. I've lived alone with pain for 2 years. I'm tired of silence. I want to help stop the next war, before it begins. The elders sat back. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then the central elder said, Leave us. We will speak. Sarakai nodded and led Jack out. The doors closed behind them. Outside the chamber, Jack sat on a bench in the hallway. He felt like his heart was beating too fast. Did I say the right things? He asked. Sarakai sat beside him. You spoke with truth. That is enough. He looked at her. Do you think they'll accept it? She was quiet for a moment. They fear another war, but they also respect truth. You did something no human has done before. You came here not with weapons, but with honesty. Jack rested his head against the wall. I still feel like I'm dreaming. You're awake, she said, and you've changed more than you know. An hour passed before the door opened. Again, a young warrior stepped out. They will see you now. Jack stood, heart pounding. Sarakai gave him a nod. They entered together. The central elder stood once more. We have spoken, he said, and we have decided, Jack braced himself. "You are not our enemy," the elder said. "You carry pain, but you do not carry hate. For this we offer peace." Jack blinked. "You mean, you will not be punished," the elder confirmed. "Instead, we ask something from you." Jack leaned forward. "Anything." "Will you speak to others?" the elder asked. "Humans in our kind. Tell them your story. Show them that peace is possible." Jack felt something shift inside his chest, like a locked door opening after years. "Yes," he said. "I will." The elder stepped forward and placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "Then let this be a beginning." Later, as they walked back to the ship, Scifi looked at Jack. "You did it." He shook his head. "We did it." She smiled. "Maybe peace is harder than war. But it's worth fighting for." Jack looked out at the stars. This time he saw hope. The space station lights faded behind them as the ship moved back into open space. Jack sat beside Scifi, still quiet, still thinking. His hands rested on his lap. His eyes looked out, at the stars. "Where are we going now?" he finally asked. Scifi glanced at him. "Back to your world. Earth." Jack raised his eyebrows. "Earth?" She nodded. "They need to hear your story just like my people heard it. Truth must be shared on both sides." Jack leaned back in his seat. "I don't know how they'll react." "You were a hero to them once," she said. "Now you are something more." He gave a small smile. "What's that?" "A bridge between two broken worlds." The ship's engines hummed gently. It would take a day to reach the human communication relay near Earth. That was enough time to prepare. Enough time to breathe. Later, Jack walked into the small sleeping area. He looked at the mirror, barely recognizing himself. Not because of how he looked, but because of how he felt. He wasn't carrying the same pain anymore. It was still there, deep inside, but now there was something else beside it. Peace and purpose. The next day, Earth came into view. Blue oceans, green continents, and clouds floating like feathers. It was still the same home he had left behind 2 years ago. But this time he was returning with a reason. As the ship approached the orbital station, human security sent a message. "Unidentified ship. State your name and purpose." Scifi looked at Jack. "It's your turn." Jack pressed the comm button. "This is Jack Carter, former human soldier. I come with a message of peace and a guest." There was a long silence. Then another voice replied. "Jack Carter? You were reported missing." "Not missing," Jack replied. "Just lost, but I'm ready to return." The ship was allowed to dock. Soldiers waited outside, surprised to see him alive and more surprised to see Scifi beside him. Their weapons were raised, but Jack stepped forward with both hands up. "She's not a threat," he said. "She saved me." Scifi stood tall, calm, and silent. The officer in charge stepped closer. "What's going on here?" Jack explained everything, from the moment Scifi landed at his outpost, to the relic, the shared memories, and the decision made by her people. "War doesn't have to continue," Jack finished. "We have a chance now, to talk, not fight." The officer listened, uncertain. "We'll need to bring this to the leaders," he said. "You'll come with us." Jack and Scifi followed the humans to a meeting chamber inside the station. Screens lit up as high-level commanders and diplomats joined through video links. Jack spoke again, clear, simple, and honest. He shared the full story. When he finished, the room stayed quiet. Then one of the commanders spoke. "You risked your life bringing this alien here." "Why?" "Because I saw the truth," Jack said. "She came for revenge, but left with understanding. I did too. The war took a lot from us, but we don't have to keep losing." An older diplomat leaned forward. "And what does her people want?" Scifi stepped up. "We offer peace. We offer talks. But only if you listen, not to titles or ranks, but to the voice of someone who knows both sides." There was silence again. Finally, the head commander stood. "We will begin talks. No promises, but we will listen." In the days that followed, messages were exchanged between Earth and the Alien Council. Tensions remained high, but something new was growing: hope. Jack and Sci-Fi were invited to speak on a public broadcast. Millions watched as a human soldier and an alien warrior sat side by side, not as enemies, but as symbols of something greater. They told their story, not with big words, but with simple truths. The war had created pain, but understanding had created peace. Weeks later, Jack stood on a small green hill outside a peace center built for future meetings between the two sides. He watched children, human and alien, play together on the grass. Sci-Fi joined him, her armor gone, replaced by simple clothing. She stood beside him, watching the same scene. "It's working," Jack said softly. "Yes," she replied, slowly, "but it is." He looked at her. "Are you staying here?" "For now," she said. "Until I'm needed again." Jack smiled. "I'm glad." She looked at him. "And you? Still feel like the man who lost everything?" Jack shook his head. "No. I feel like the man who finally found something again." They stood there for a while, side by side, under the same sky. No words were needed anymore. Their journey had started with anger, but it ended with hope. And in that hope, a new future had begun. The end.